our scanners are they're fairly expensive, but what we do is we put the book in a cradle, and then the cradle goes up to the glass, it takes picture, you let it down, you flip a page. And once you know what you're doing, you can do 500 pages an hour that way. But then there's a whole workflow after that, right? Raw scans have to be cropped and deskewed and dewarped.
That's all manual work?
No, there's so we've been using the Internet Archive to do what's called repub. It takes the raw scans and the metadata and runs them through OCR and turns them into PDFs. But for a long time, Internet Archive wasn't doing Indian languages for their optical character recognition. And so Sushant Sinha and I, he's our third co-founder. Sushant is a PhD in computer science. He is the founder of Indian Qanun, which is all the court cases and laws and regulations of India. And I've known Sushant since he started Indian Qanun. He actually was an engineer at Yahoo and wanted to give something back to his country. And he saw what I was doing in the US. And so I said, well, I'm going to put court cases online.
Oh.
And so I'd known him for a long time. And so what Sushant did is he took these scans that we were uploading to the Internet Archive, pulled them down, bounced them off Google Vision, which had Indian languages, and then shoehorned them back into the Internet Archive. And we did probably 400,000 books that way. Internet Archive then started doing OCR in all the different languages, so we don't do that anymore.
And what's the accuracy of this with Indian languages?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Tamil, Kannada.
Oh yeah, no, you bet. No, you bet. A good 100 languages. So,
okay.
And it does auto detection. So even if you mislabel the language, Tesseract will actually say, oh, there's a 93% chance this is Kannada, or this is Konkani in a Devangari script, or So we had a scanner at the Vishwa Konkani Center in Mangaluru, and so we did about 6,000 Konkani books, and there had not been any online before that. And so we had a scanner, Indian Academy. We added 2 more. We had one in Chennai at the Roja Muthaya Library doing Tamil, the other one in Mangaluru.
These are not portable, right?
No, you can put them in road cases and they're transportable, but they're big frames and they're on tables, and it needs to be the right table and the right size. So we had 3 of them, and so 2 things happened. One is it was hard to ship these in from the United States. We had 2 scanners were stuck in customs for a year, and just couldn't get them out. And so we were like, this is nuts. So we started making them here in India. So we reverse engineered the scanner and went to a manufacturing shop, and we now build the frames ourselves. We buy the electronics, we put them on there.
So the design of these are also open source?
Of course.
You could replicate them?
You could. Now the issue is just having a scanner, that's the beginning of the workflow, and so you gotta do the whole business. And we're in the process of open sourcing the entire stack. So this whole repub thing, we're actually preparing some open source software, so anyone that has raw scans can go through that process of cropping them and doing OCR and generating PDFs.
Who owns this right now? This is Internet Archive.
So right now we use the Internet Archive service to do that. So everything we do gets pushed. We actually began doing it ourselves this month. And so we're in the process of doing that. But for a long time, we would do that. So if it was a copyright book, we push them into a print disabled only collection on the Internet Archive. You have to be blind in order to be able to access it. If it's not in copyright, anybody could see it. So we had those 3 scanners. We started making them ourselves, and COVID hit, and we just couldn't keep them going in Chennai and Mangaluru, and couldn't hop on a plane. And so we brought them back in. And by that time, we'd been at the Indian Academy for a while. We approached the National Law School of India University, approached the vice chancellor and said, we've got some scanners. How about if we scan your whole library? And several days later, and this is our 4th co-founder who helped put that one together, and that's Professor Lawrence Liang, graduate of NLSIU, winner of the Infosys Prize. He's the founding dean of the Ambedkar University Delhi Law School, considered the leading intellectual property scholar in the country. He also has a PhD in film studies from JNU, and he writes frequently about film for like The Hindu and publications like that. So that's the 4 of us that are doing this thing. And so Lawrence approached the VC, and we started scanning their whole library, and we were up to 12 scanners by then. And we hire the staff, and so our deal is always we'll scan your stuff, but it's our scanners, and we hire and manage the staff, right? We could train you on how to use it, but we found in the past that if you put 3 scanners over in some library and you train people, at first they're real enthusiastic, and then the things just sit there. And ours are like every day, we're scanning and we're using them effectively. So we scanned the entire 30,000 books of the National Law School of India University. And then Gandhi Bhavan approached us and said, this is, right in downtown Bangalore, and said, could you scan our library? And so we shoehorned about 6 scanners in there, and we started scanning their library. And we noticed they had a huge unused auditorium space, and said, can we have that? And they said, sure. And we ended up scanning all 11,000 of their books. And so we recently did something very special.
So is this not a duplication effort in some ways with what Google has been doing with their?
Oh, sort of. There's a couple differences. So first of all, our scanning is higher quality. Google's 300 dots per inch. We're 600.
Okay.
And Google, you can't download the books, right? They're scanning.
That is correct. Of course.
Well, with ours, if they're public domain, we just make them available. If they're not public domain, here's what we did with the Gandhi Library. We in August, and it was a 75th anniversary of the Gandhi Smarak Nidhi program, and they called a big international conference. We had organizations from all over India coming down to Bangalore. We presented each of the Gandhi organizations with a thumb drive that had the entire Gandhi library on it. But it came with a proviso. And this presentation wasn't just me, it was me, the Minister of Law and Parliamentary Affairs, H.K. Patil of Karnataka, and Justice Hegde, retired Supreme Court Justice. And we presented it to these organizations, said, look, you are the trustee of this knowledge. You may use it for the purposes allowed under Indian law. And those purposes are, so these things are copyright, right? So I can't sell them, obviously. But if you are blind, even if it's copyright, I can make a copy and give it to you. That's an international treaty. It's called the Marrakesh Treaty. If it's in the course of your research, Section 52 of the Copyright Act of India says that is an exception to copyright. So even though it's in copyright, if you're a university professor and you're writing a paper and you need this book in the course of your research, I can give it to you. And then finally, there's in the course of instruction. There was a very famous case at Delhi University in which they have a copy shop that prepared course packs, right? And they were sued by Oxford and Cambridge, and it went to the High Court of Delhi. And the High Court of Delhi said, no, wait a minute, Section 52 of the Copyright Act says if it's in the course of instruction, that's an exception to copyright. Now, that doesn't mean the student can take that copy and sell it on the street, right? But in the course of their instruction. And so when we gave the Gandhi Library to every other Gandhi organization, we said that you are a trustee of this knowledge and you may use it for the following purposes as allowed by law.